Alright, hey guys, so this is going to be the next one in a series of videos looking at how to start producing music. So in previous ones we've looked at setting up the loop and creating the 4 tracks, so bass, chords, melody, drums. And then in the next video we looked at how to make your chords a bit more interesting. So for this one we're going to look at improving the bass line and the melody. So the commonality between them being that they're both single note lines, so just one note at a time. So you can kind of treat the bass as a melody as well. And in fact, we're going to start there because this one's going to be quite simple. So I'll just go ahead and double click on my bass MIDI event to get into the piano roll. And I've got this here. So all I'm going to do here is just add some passing notes. So what I mean by that is if there's a note in the scale that fits between the 2 root notes here, what you can do is shorten this one and just fill it in like that. Or like here, we've got a few notes, so I can make this a bit, shorten it more, and fill in those scale notes like so. Now the length of these can change, so see if I made them like quarter notes like this one here, then it's going to take up, you know, most like 3/4 of that bar, which maybe could potentially work like this. Go away. So yeah, maybe let's try that. All right, and then here there's no note in between that's in the scale. So what I might do instead is do what's called a neighbor note. So I'm going to jump up, above, and then back down. And then I'm going to do a similar thing here at the end to come back onto this C. So I'll literally do the same thing. All right, and let's just solo that and see what that sounds like. All right, yeah, pretty happy with that. But let's just see what this would have sounded like if these were shorter. Let's make these ones longer. Yeah, I think I like the long ones. See, this is kind of a personal preference at this point. There's no right or wrong here. Cool. Now, on some VSTs, what I would want to do here is just select these, hold shift, and make I'm going to grab the end and make all my notes a little bit longer, like this. And this would, when you overlap the notes, what it'll do is make the transitions between them legato, so it won't re-trigger and you won't get that kind of clicky attack on the start of each note. With this bass though, I've already tested it and that doesn't work, so I don't have that option. So I'm just going to leave it as is. Alright, so you can see I used those root notes as kind of the outline, and I've just filled in the gaps, really. That's all I've done there, just smoothing that out. In a lot of kind of electronic music styles, we would actually want to change this to make it a bit more rhythmic. But I'm going to stick with what I've got like that for now. And let's go ahead and jump in and look at the melody. Okay, now here, this melodic outline came from the original chords, not the ones I have now. So I could actually get rid of this completely and base it off the new chords. But I think I'm going to just stick with what I've got and just let myself be a bit more free with how I create the melody. All right, so here I can do the passing note thing like I did just before. So for example, in this first bar here, we could do passing notes all the way up. So something like this. And let's put some here as well. So that's all right. And with a with a melody like this, we really want to try and create some repeating patterns and have kind of a sense of shape that runs through the whole thing. So I'm just kind of looking at this now, trying to see what I'm going to do. So again, I could repeat this pattern here. In fact, let's do that. I don't have key snapping on, so maybe I'll do that just so we can only see the notes in the scale. Okay, so the repeating pattern works up to that point. Let's see that. Alright, but then I do have this big jump down here. So maybe I want to do something a little different here. I think I'm going to take this up an octave. Yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of let the melody fall and then come back up here, and we'll repeat this pattern again here. But I'll let it run back down to come back to loop back to this. I'm going to run out of time here. Let's try that. And we'll just do something with this. So maybe here I'll do kind of an inversion type of thing. Yep, this is what I'll do. Alright, so essentially the same pattern. I just extended it a little bit so I can get all the scale notes in, running down this time, and then back up, and then down to loop back to here. Let's see what that does. Okay, so I kind of don't love how that rhythm works there. So what I'm going to do is change the grid to eighth note triplets. So that's going to allow me to put 3 notes in here, like so. And get that note back on the beat. Let's hear that. Alright, and the good thing about that is it just kind of gives you some rhythmic variety as well. In fact, I'm going to do the same thing over here. I've still got those triplets on. So we'll do it here. No, not there. Here is where we want it. Like so, let's try that. See if there's anything else we can do here. So here I might kind of take a cue from my chords. So I'm just going to go back and look at those. And what I'm looking for here is kind of an opportunity to put one of these suspended notes into the melody. Or maybe a note that kind of doesn't fit with the chord, but then we'll drop into it. Okay. So it's probably going to work better on one of these long notes. So I might try this one. So what we're going to do is just going to go up a step high first. and then let it drop back in. Let's try that. Yeah, no, that did not work. Let me just go ahead and put my grid back to normal while I'm doing this too. I don't think this will work either, but we'll give it a try. Yeah, not really. Okay, so I think with what I've got, it's a bit, there's not really a good spot for me to put one of these appoggiaturas in. So an appoggiatura is basically when you have a melody note that's not in the chord on the downbeat, and then you let it move into the chord, onto the chord tone after that. But it would work better if I had longer notes kind of on the downbeats in the bars, which I don't. So I'm just going to leave that as is because I think it works all right. So now my loop sounds like this. Alright, so as you can see, I've got more interesting melodic and harmonic parts here now. And these would be ready to be developed into something a bit more interesting. I could start doing effects and automation on these at this point, or I could do that once I've done a bit more of the arrangement, which is probably my preference. So I think for the next video, we'll look at making those drums a bit more interesting, and then we'll go on to arranging the track. I hope to see you there.